Good morning or good afternoon. Today we are going to be going over a couple of major concepts into our track into algebra. We are going to be going over combining like terms. So the way I really like to think about combining like terms and then going into distributive property next. And the way I really think about combining like terms is like adding chickens plus chickens plus chickens and maybe a cow plus a cow plus a cow. You have chickens and cows, and of course, you cannot combine chickens and cows and say I have 2 chickens plus 3 cows gives me 5 chickens. You always want to think of that looking at our combining like terms. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going over a couple of easy rules to go over combining like terms. So, if you look at the first one right here, you look at the 12m plus 3m, and you say, well, what is 12m plus 3m? Well, I have 15m's, and then I take away, this is an imaginary 1 in front of the m, so I have 15m's, and I take away 1m, so the total is going to be 14m's. So they are all alike, they are all chickens, so it's like saying I have 12 chickens, I have 3 chickens, and I add them, and then after that I take away 1 chicken. That gives me a total of 14 chickens. Once again, 12 chickens plus 3 chickens gives me 15 chickens, minus 1 chicken gives me 14 chickens. That's the way you think about collecting like terms. You can use a term of chickens, you can use a term of cows, you can use a term of cookies, as long as you know, okay, a chocolate chip cookie is not the same as an Oreo cookie. You can't say, I have 2 chocolate chip and 3 Oreos, so now I have 5 Oreos. So again, we got to think of that as combining like terms. So we're going to look at the second one right here. We have 9x, and then we take away 3x's, so that gives us a total of 6x's. And then I'm going to add 5x's. So 6x's plus 5x's gives us a total of 11x. So I combine like terms. Looking at the next one is super easy. We have 7x's plus 11x's gives us a total of 18x's because they are very, very similar. We look at the next one and we have chickens and cows. We have 12 chickens minus 5 chickens. We can only combine the 12y minus a 5y. That gives me a total of 7y. But then I can't add a 19 and say, okay, I have 26. 19 is by himself, so I can't combine 17y plus 19. So the simplified form is 7y plus 19, and that is my answer. Going to a next one that I have here, I have 7x's, I have negative 2x's, and 4x's. I'm going to combine like terms. I have 7x, and I take away 2x's, that gives me 5x's, and then I add 4x's, so then that gives me 9x's. So that is a total of combining like terms. Now, if we look at the next one, now we have a little bit complicated because now we have A's, we have B's, and we have C's. So if I have 3 apples, I need to combine my apples with my apples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to underline the A's and the A's. And then I have 3A, and I take away 8A. That gives me a negative 5A. Now, what happens if I don't know what 3 minus 8 is? So trusty Desmos will take care of that for us. So I just pull out Desmos right here, and I say, well, what is, get the keyboard out, what is 3 minus 8? That gives me a total of negative 5. So anytime that you want to have a subtraction one and you don't know what the answer is, all you have to do is input it into the Desmos calculator. So let me go ahead and shrink this. So what I like to do is I like to get rid of this one, and I like to get rid of this one. I like to scratch it out. Now I look at the B's. I have a negative 4B, and I have a positive 7B. So the next step is I'm going to go ahead and add it using my Desmos calculator. I'm going to go ahead and get my Desmos calculator. And once again, by looking at it, I'm going to say negative 4 plus 7. So once again, negative 4 plus 7. So I'm going to get my Desmos calculator, and I'm going to get rid of this, and it's going to be a negative 4 and then I'm going to do the plus here, and then I'm going to do the 7. So a negative 4 plus 7 is a positive 3. So now I go back to my screen and I say, well, what's a negative 4 plus 7? It is a positive 3, but it's a 3b. So now I get rid of this one and I get rid of this one. Now I look at the c's and I combine like terms. So of course a positive 5c and a 6c positive is going to give me an 11c. Now I look at it and I have negative 5 apples, positive 3 bears, and 11 cats. Can I combine them any further? No. So this is a simplified form. So what I went over was very briefly on collecting like terms. Now we're going to go on to another very similar one. We have a 7a minus an 8b and a positive 13c and a 5a and a positive 5b. So I won't waste any time. I'm going to go ahead and put it on a split screen, and I'm going to get my Desmos calculator and also put this one on a split screen. So then that way I can have my Desmos here and I can have my work right here, and I can switch back and forth. So if you look at that, you are combining like terms. So once again, 7a, positive 5a. I don't need Desmos for that, but again, if I don't know how to add, all I have to do is add 7 plus 5 on Desmos, and it gives me 12a. I don't have any more a's. I can go ahead and scratch those out. Then I look at my next one. I look at the b's. I have a negative 8b and a positive 1b. Again, that is an imaginary 1 in front of the b. So if I don't know what negative 8b and a positive 1b, well, I just put it into the Desmos calculator. Negative 8, and then I go positive 1, and I add it, and it gives me a negative 7b. So I collected like terms there, and I collected like terms there, and I am done with the b's. Now I go to the c's, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in a different color of red. And I look at the c's. Do I have any other c's to combine? No, so I just bring it down. So this is just positive 13c, and I got rid of that. And then of course I have the negative 2, nothing else to combine, negative 2. Now I have apples, bears, and cats, and a negative 2. Can I combine like terms here in any of these forms? No, so that is the final answer. The next one that I'm going to be doing is T's and Z's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to underline all my T's, and mathematically it's always logical to put them in alphabetical order. So I have a positive 3T and a negative 4T. So what I'm going to do, if I don't know how to do the integers, I'm going to put 3, and then I go minus 4, and that gives me a negative 1T. I got rid of my T's. I am done with my T's. I'm going to now go on to the Z's. I have a positive 6Z. I have a 9Z, and I have a 1Z right here, an imaginary 1 right there. So again, I'm going to add 6 plus 9, which gives me 15, plus 1, which gives me 16. So I have my 16Z. Now, can I combine Z's and T's? No, so I am done, and that is my simplified version of collecting like terms. Last one that we are going to go over is, of course, 7m plus 3y minus 2m plus y plus 8. And once again, that right there, the y is like an imaginary 1 in front of it. So now I'm going to look at my m's, and I'm going to say, well, I have 7m, and I have negative 2m. And I don't know what 7m minus 2m is. Well, I have 7m's and I take away 2m. Well, if I don't know how to do it, all I do is put it into my Desmos. 7 minus 2. And that gives me a total of 5. So it is a total of 5m. I get rid of this and I get rid of this. Then after that, I look at the y's and I put them in red. 3y's. Is there any more y's to combine? There it is. 3y plus 1y gives me a total of 4y's. And then I scratch those out, and then I have the positive 8 by itself. So that right there gives you an abbreviated version of collecting like terms. Next, I'm going to go on to our distributive property. Okay, so next I'm going to cover distributive property, and what we are going to be doing is we're going to be distributing into every single term. So we'll start off first easy with simple numbers, and then we'll move on to a little bit harder with our letters and values. So if we look at this first one, we always want to distribute, and the distributive means that we are going to multiply. So we say, well, what is 2 times 4? 2 times 4 is 8. So I am going to multiply it, and I'm going to put 2 times 4 is 8. Then I'm going to distribute the 2 and the 4, and I go, well, what is 2 times 6? And 2 times 6 is positive 12. And I'm going to write that down. Now, of course, I have 8 plus 12. That gives me a total of 20 for my distributive property. Next, I'm going to do the distributive, even though it is easy just to do 5 minus 3 and then you multiply by 9, but we're going to practice our distributive property. So I'm going to distribute right here to this one, and I go, well, what is 9 times 5? 9 times 5 is 45. Then I'm going to distribute the 9 into there. I'm multiplying 9 times negative 3, and 9 times negative 3 is a negative 27. And what happens if I don't know what 9 times negative 3 is? And it's always very important to know what 9 times negative 3 is. So all I have to do is click here on Desmos, and I put 9 times a negative 3. And that gives me a total of negative 27, and that is the reason why I got negative 27. Now, if I don't know what 45 minus 27 is, all I do is put it into my trusty Desmos, and I put 45 minus 27, and Desmos spits it out for us, and 45 minus 27, it is 18, and that is my answer. Now we're going to get into letters. So I am going to do this one in red, and I'm going to say, well, I'm going to do the same thing. I have 7x plus 8. So I'm going to delete Desmos in case I need it. So I'm going to distribute 7 times x, and if I distribute 7 times x is 7x. Then I'm going to distribute 7 times 8, positive 8 of course. 7 times 8 is positive 56. Now I look at the terms and I say, well, can I combine chickens and ducks? Well, I have 7 x's and I cannot combine 56, so that is my simplified form. Next, I look at the next one. I'm still diving into our distributive property. So right here, I'm going to distribute right here, and I say, well, what is 6 times x? 6 times x is 6x. And then I'm going to distribute right here. 6 times negative 8 is negative 48. Can I combine anything else? No. If I don't know how to get 6 times negative 8, all I have to do is put it into my Desmos. 6 times negative 8 gives me a total of negative 48. So, of course, this is a simplified form, and I cannot simplify it any further. Now I'm going to go a little bit further, and now I'm going to distribute into 3 terms. So now I'm going to distribute into 3. So I'm going to do 1, 1, and another one. So I am going to do this one in red, or let me go ahead and pick a darker, well, let me pick a darker color, maybe a beige, or a light red. So then here I'm going to distribute to this. I go, well, what is 3 times x? 3x. And then I'm going to distribute to this. What is 3 times 2y? That gives me a positive 6y. Because, of course, 3 times 2y is, that 3 times 2 is 6y. And then, of course, I do my last distributive right here. And 3 times negative 5 is a negative 15. And, of course, if I don't know what 3 times negative 5, then I put it into my trusty Desmos here. And I just put 3 times negative 5. And I get the answer of negative 15, which is right there. Now I look at the terms and I say, well, can I combine any like terms like what I did before? I have x's, I have y's, and I have 15s. Can I combine them? No, because that I have chickens, ducks, and cows. I cannot combine them. So that is my finalized answer right there. We're going to look at this one. We're going to do distributive property 3 times. I'm going to keep Desmos handy in case I need it. So I'm going to distribute here. And I go, what is 2 times 3x? 2 times 3x is 6x. Then I'm going to distribute here. 2 times positive 5y is positive 10y. Going to distribute one more time to the last one, and I say, well, what is 2 times 9? 2 times 9 is positive 18. Now I have my x's, I have my y's, and I have my 18s. Can I combine like terms? No, so that is my finalized answer. See, if I have another one, now I have G, H, N, J, and I have some big numbers there where I have negatives and negatives, so you cannot forget the negatives. The only reason that you will get it wrong is, let's say I forgot a negative. And if you forget a negative, that is the only reason that you're going to get the answer wrong. So once again, I am going to distribute 3 times G, and 3 times G is 3G. And then I'm going to distribute right here 3 times negative 4. H is negative 12H. Now, if I don't know what 3 times negative 4, all I have to do is put it in the decimals. 3 times negative 4. And the answer is negative 12, which is the same thing as negative 12H. Now I'm going to distribute to the last one. I'm going to say, well, what is 3 times negative 33J? And it gives me to negative 99J. And I say, well, I don't know what 3 times negative 33 is. Well, all I have to do is put it in the decimals. I'm going to put 9 times 33. And you're going to see that it comes out to 99. Why did I get it wrong? Well, I forgot my negative. So the only reason decimals will pop out the wrong answer is if you do not put it in correctly. You are multiplying 3 times negative 33 here. So if you put it in correctly, decimals will not get it wrong. And then you go negative 33, and that gives you a negative 99, which is that. Then you have goats, and you have horses, and you have jaguars. Can you combine like terms? No, you have 3 different animals, so that is your answer right there. So that is 3G minus 12H minus 99. So now we're going to go into something that includes both a distributive property, and it also includes combining like terms. So we're going to take a look at this one right here. So I'm going to look at the 8y, and I'm also going to look at this negative 3, and I'm going to first of all underline where the distributive property is in green. You can see the distributive property there. I'm going to distribute the 3 into the x and the 3 into the negative 2y. But again, you see the 3. We're not going to distribute the 3. We're going to distribute the negative 3, because don't forget, you got to look at the sign right before it. Then you have the positive 15. So the way I would handle this problem is I would bring down the 8y, because that one is alone. I am going to distribute the negative 3, and I'm going to distribute like that. So I go negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And the sign does matter. And then I go negative 3 times negative 2y. That gives me a positive 6y. And how do I get a positive 6y? Well, I multiply it right here. Negative 3 times negative 2. I come over here and I say, well, what is negative 3? And I'm going to put it in negative 3. And what is times negative 2? And I look at that, and it's positive 6y, which is negative 3 times negative 2y is positive 6y. And then I'm going to bring down the positive 15. Now, am I done with the equation? Am I done with the expression? Have I simplified it all the way down? Nope. Why? Because I'm going to put them in alphabetical order. The x's is by itself right there. That one I just bring down. It's going to be negative 3x because I have no pairs. Now, under the blue, I'm going to underline the y's because those are the same terms. So I have a positive 8y plus a positive 6y. That gives me a positive 14y. So what I like to do is I like to get rid of those, and I like to draw them out. Then positive 15 by itself. Now I have 3 different terms. I have a negative 3x and a 14y and a positive 15, so I cannot combine like terms. So then that is my answer. Next, I'm going to look at a little bit more complicated one, but it also is simplified very easily. So I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to first of all underline my distributive property. So if you can see the distributive property, it is right there underlined in red. Everything else is a term by itself. So what I would recommend on this one is bring down the 2, bring down the 11x, and then right here I am going to distribute, and I am going to be distributing. And I'm going to clear decimals to make sure he is ready. And I go, what is negative 3 times x? Negative 3x. And then I'm going to do a negative 3 times a negative 5, which gives me a positive 15. And again, if I don't know what negative 3 times negative 5 is, all I do is put it in decimals. Negative 3 times negative 5 gives me a total of positive 15. And that is how I got the positive 15. And then, of course, the 7x is all by himself, so we just want to bring him down as a positive 7x. But we're not done yet because we have a lot of x's that we can combine. So I'm going to underline the x's. I have positive 11x. I have a negative 3x, and then I have a positive 7x. But not to worry, decimals is here to help us. So all I have to do is input 11, and then I don't even have to do anything else. And then you do the minus 3, and then you do the positive 11, which is this one. I mean, not the positive 11, the positive 7. You add them up, and it gives you positive 15x. So I got all these. I put down 15x. And I can get rid of those because I already did the math. And then I have a positive 15 here and a positive 2, which gives me a positive 17. So that is my answer for a distributive property. There is one more there's a couple more I'm going to cover, two more, and then I'll go ahead and stop the video. We have this complicated one, and then we have another complicated one. So the first step is always to identify where is our distributive property. Our distributive property is right there, so I'm going to do the distributive. Everything else is like a term. I'm just going to bring down, so I'm going to bring down my 5x. I'm going to distribute here, and I'm going to distribute here. And what is positive 3 times x? It's going to be positive 3x. And what is positive 3 times 1? It's going to be positive 3. So I have my distributive. I have simplified. I bring this down, positive 2x. And I bring that down, minus 9. Next, I have a lot of x's I'm going to combine. I will go ahead and underline them in red. And I have a positive 5x. I have a positive 3x. And I have a positive 2x. So I have 5x's plus 3x's plus 2x's. Which is like 5 chickens plus 3 chickens plus 2 chickens. You have 10 chickens, which is the same thing as saying 10x. So let me switch that. 10. So now I can get rid of the x's, and I have a positive 9 and a negative 9. I mean a positive 3 and a negative 9. I don't know how to add positive 3 and a negative 9. All I have to do is put it on decimals, 3 minus 9. And that gives me a negative 6. And now I have my simplified terms. The x's I cannot combine with numbers, and that is my final answer. So that is 10x minus 6. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this page, and then that way we can do our last problem today. So then now I'm looking at another thing. So the first step is to underline our distributive property, which is right there. So everything else I'm going to bring down. I'm going to bring down the 3x right here, and then I'm going to distribute right here and right here. We look at what's 4 times x. Well, what is 4 times x? A positive 4x. And then what is 4 times 3? And a positive positive gives me a positive 12. Then I'm going to bring down the negative 1. And then I'm going to combine like terms. I'm going to add the 3x plus a 4x, which gives me a total of 7x. That gets rid of my x's. Is there any more x's to combine? Nope. So then I have 12 minus 1. 12 minus 1 is 11. So that is a positive 11. And that is my finalized answer. I cannot combine chickens and cows. So that is my answer. So I have just went over a crash course of distributive property and collecting like terms. I hope this has helped you out in knowing some basic information on understanding what distributive property is and how to combine like terms. I want you to have a great day. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you very much for your attention.